Okay, what's going on, everybody? My name is Mangg. Welcome back to Hanging with Mangg. We are, of course, playing some Monster Hunter World. Um, it's probably gonna lag like a son of a bitch. Son of a bitches are known to lag. I should probably have cranked up the bit rate. Well, it doesn't really matter. It's not like this is a professional stream, am I right? So yeah, I've been playing a lot of Monster Hunter World because Lego and Mert have been playing it here and there. I've been getting them into that. They've been enjoying it. So I inevitably have more free time than they do, so I just play it more than them, even though I've already put like 1,000 hours into this game. So now I'm just sort of like going through the low high rank stuff and just completing every quest just for the hell of it. Anyways, unless I can drop this to 30 FPS mid-recording. I don't know if I can. No, I don't think I can. I'd have to stop the record. Oh, but you can increase the bit rate mid-recording or mid-stream. Well, let's give that a try. Maybe that'll do something. Anyways, we got some stuff to chit-chat about. It's gonna be way too loud, isn't it? Yes, yes it is. Alrighty, that's fixable. I missed completely. Anyways. Mostly I've just been playing Monster Hunter World, Code Vein, and The Last of Us. I've been replaying through The Last of Us in preparation for part 2 coming out this Friday. Got like a 96 on Metacritic so far. I'm super hyped. Super hyped. Gonna be a lot of fun. Should be a good Let's Play. Yeah. That's what's happening there. Sony had their big PS5 announcement or reveal stream, which I gave a watch. It was like a little bit of E3 in our lives, just like a mini little E3. What a bummer year to not have E3. Although I don't even know if Sony would have gone. Maybe they would have. Maybe they would have because they had stuff to show off. But yeah, I mean, those some of my best memories from childhood were those years where they'd show off new consoles, the new console years at E3. Oh my god. Seeing what the Xbox 360 was looking like, seeing what the PS3 was looking like, looking at the Wii. Yeah, those were always great. Because you had like there were good and bad years of E3s. But every year I look forward to watching it so much. Just a week of just gaming announcements and discussions, and oh man. And that's pretty much done with now. And it's pretty much over. I mean, I don't really blame them. There's not really any reason to have an E3 when you could just put out, a video, a stream on YouTube or something that basically gets the same info to everybody. And, gets everybody discussing it and talking about it anyways. Makes me a little sad, but I understand. So, yeah, Demon Souls Remaster. We didn't really see any gameplay. We just saw, like, redone cinematics. But the redone cinematics looked hype. Demon Souls is a pretty great game. That was my first Souls game that I picked up just, like, on a whim. I had seen, like, a trailer for it. I think it probably was around E3 time. And I was on, like, GameTrailers.com, and I was just looking at a bunch of, like, upcoming game trailers. And like, oh, what's this Demon Soul? I mean, it was such a weird title. It immediately drew my attention. And it looked like just this grim fantasy game with, like, dragons flying around, and Boletaria looks so, like, dark and epic, and it was like, oh, this looks pretty good. And not many people were talking about it at the time. And I remember going to GameStop to pre-order it, which I doubt they got too many pre-orders for. But yeah, I fucking fell in love with that game. So it's great to see a remaster. And they didn't even call it like a remaster. At the end of the trailer, it just says Demon Souls. So that clueless people think it's just a new game. Like, oh, look at this. The new Dark Souls. It's called Demon Souls. Which is fine. So, Body put out a video discussing it. There's questions about, what quality of life changes are we going to get? Are we going to get any new content? How's, like, World Tendency going to work? Are they going to change that at all? Blah, blah, blah. Plenty of questions. If that's a launch title for the PS5, though, that's pretty big. Especially if they really make no effort to call it a remaster. The only question is it coming to PC? I don't know if that's been answered. Because the rumors for a while have been that Demon Souls and Bloodborne remasters are coming to PC. We didn't see anything about Bloodborne. I can't imagine that's not in the pipeline if they're doing Demon Souls. And truth be told, I'd probably rather have a Bloodborne remaster than Demon Souls, even though Bloodborne's far newer. It's just that Bloodborne with 30 FPS it's so rough to go back and play now. My eyes have evolved. And Demon Souls you can play on PC emulated at 60 FPS. whereas Bloodborne you really can't. So, I mean, I'm super excited for Demon Souls, but I hope Bloodborne's in the work. I'd love if Demon Souls came to PC, because mod support and things like that are always good. Cheat engine support, so I can just start the game with whatever weapon I want. That's like the only reason I ever use cheat engine for like Dark Souls 3 or whatever. It's just I want to play through the whole game with Valor Heart, you know. I don't want to have to wait till I get to the fucking DLC to get it, because that's the best weapon in the series. Anyways, yeah, so that looks good. That looks good. If it is just pure PS5 exclusive, it is what it is. I mean, I'm getting a PS5 no matter what. But PC's always good. What else do we see? Horizon 2. I mean, that's like hype levels off the charts. Horizon Zero Dawn was like easily one of the best games on the PS4. And we're getting it right out the gate with PS5. Presumably. Well, maybe not. It's in the launch window, I assume. So that looks fantastic. We're going to get to... It seems like the different types of locales are going to be much more varied. So that's exciting. Going to the desert and shit like that. That's great. Other game, I don't know. There was other stuff I was excited about, but either we didn't see gameplay or it's stuff that's just like, yeah, that looks pretty good, but I'm not like, oh my god, I'm losing my mind. It was really surprising that they started the showcase with GTA 5 Remaster. That was extremely concerning. Like, holy shit, this is how you're starting the show. This is not good. It's a remaster of a game that no one's really particularly interested in. I'm newish to RPGs and have only played 5e. My group is interested in Shadow of the Demon Lord, and I think you played it. Would you recommend it? Well, let me put it this way. Well, okay, yes, if all you want is a simple answer. I have yet to find something that D&D 5e does that Shadow of the Demon Lord doesn't do better. The only thing, I guess, the only thing that 5e has going for it is like public support, you know, like there's far more published material for 5e. There's far more people discussing 5e and playing 5e. Things like that. So if that's super duper important to you, then that's a shifting factor. But otherwise, it's just as far as a game goes, Shadow of the Demon Lord, in my opinion, is better in pretty much every way. And there are mechanics in Shadow of the Demon Lord that you could just take and put into 5e that are really good. Like the initiative system in Demon Lord is fantastic, with just like a fast, slow system where at the start of every round you just say whether you're going fast or slow. And if you go slow, you get a movement and an action. If you go fast, you just get an action. And then the turn order just goes all the fast players, and then all the fast monsters, then all the slow players, then all the slow monsters. That's it. You know, there's no dice rolling. and it can shift every round whether you're going fast or slow depending on the situation. I find that fantastic. They have a Bane boon system for dice rolls. So if you have a boon on a roll, which is basically like advantage, you roll like a d6 and you add that to your d20. Whereas if you have a Bane, you roll a d6 and you subtract that from your d20. And that's pretty much it. That's super simple, very easy for the DM to just hand out, depending on the situation. What else is good? The DCs for like challenges, for like skill challenges and stuff. The DC is always 10, like pretty much no matter what. And then depending on how easy you have it or how hard you have it, you can add Banes and Boons to modify it. But the number is always 10, which is just super simple. My favorite part of Demon Lord, though, is the character customization. Just an insane degree of character customization available to you. You know, you start with your ancestry, which is basically your species, and that gives you some choices. Then you move on to your novice path, which is like one of 4 different choices. Then you move on to your expert path, which is one of like 20 different choices. And then you move on to your master path, which is like 50 different choices. And, you know, this is in the base book pretty much. And you can mix and match anything you want. So if you start as a warrior as your novice path, you can then become like an alchemist or something as your expert path. But then for your master path, you could be like, fuck it, I'm going to be a gunslinger. And it's just like, fine, all right, fine, go ahead. You know, it's all valid. There's no restrictions. It's amazing. All the spell, like, spell trees and stuff are amazing. There's so many awesome spells in that game. It's just good. It's just easily one of my favorite RPGs. So the short answer, yes, I'd recommend it. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, the PS5. So then the PS5 itself, there's been a lot of discussion about the console. It's okay. I mean, I tend to put all my consoles horizontally. They only showed it vertical for most of it, but people did. There are images of it horizontal. It does not look good horizontal. It looks giant and bulky. It doesn't look like you can put anything on top of it ever. From what people are saying, it seems like a pretty massive system. It's basically like a little PC. I mean, that's basically what it is. And a lot of people are like, you know, it stands out so much. All they want is just like a nondescript black box to go along with all their other nondescript black boxes, because otherwise, you know, in their nice little home theater system that they have to show off to friends and family, they have this just garish white monstrosity. I don't really care about that. I mean, that doesn't... You know, I have like a giant Sekiro poster in my living room, and like this Dark Souls. I have a Sekiro poster, a Bloodborne poster, and like a Dark Souls display, all in my entryway. You know, that doesn't matter to me. So the only concern I have with it is that it's big, as my consoles tend to just go on my computer desk next to my monitor. So it's sort of annoying, but when you're putting a lot of power into these things, you're making them miniature PCs. That's what's going to happen. And I think they sort of want it to be a discussion center point. You know, they want people to notice it. Oh, what is this crazy white and black box? This isn't your cable box. This isn't the TiVo. It's a PS5. That doesn't really bother me that much. It's fine. There will probably be a slim model that I'm sure I'll get at some point. Controller looks a little, I don't know, chunky. It looked a little strange. Doesn't really matter. I mean, it's a day one purchase for me either way. Even though, from the looks of it, a lot of PlayStation games are sort of coming to PC. Like Horizon Zero Dawn is coming to PC, which excites the hell out of me. Like playing that game in like 4K, you know, 120 FPS or something with mod support. Oh, it's gonna be great. So, but there's gonna be some PlayStation 5 exclusives. I mean, there has to be. There has to be, because there are no Xbox exclusives, and because of that, I'm not buying an Xbox. This is going to be the first Xbox I'm not buying, because there's just no reason whatsoever for me to do it. My computer is far more powerful than an Xbox could ever hope to be. And I do all of my gaming at my computer desk, so I'd rather just use the PC if possible. The only reason I'm getting a PlayStation is because there are exclusives. That's how they maintain my money. And I'm happy with Microsoft's decision to put games, you know, their Game Pass and all that, to put games on PC and to not have exclusives. I would certainly prefer not to have to buy a PS5 and just have everything on PC. That would be awesome. But I just don't see how much business sense that makes. I really wonder how many Xboxes they're going to sell this cycle. I wonder how PC gaming is doing. I mean, are we still at the point where people would rather just buy a console and be done with it? Or is PC gaming on the rise? I don't know. I don't follow all this that closely. I just know what I do. So, yeah, bottom line, getting a PS5. There's going to be Let's Plays of Demon Souls Remastered and Horizon 2 and probably all sorts of other fun stuff. You can expect, I'm sure, day one of PS5 launch, we're going to be Let's Playing through something. Anyways, enough of that talk. We, this week on the Exploring series, that other little channel that I run, put out a video on SCP-5001 Sacrosanct. It's funny that Yossi, who wrote the SCP, he had actually asked me a while back if I was going to do it. And at the time, I was like, I don't know, it seems a little short. I was hesitant because it seemed short. I don't know, I guess I just like glanced at it before reading it, and it was like, I don't know, it seems a little short. I don't know what I was thinking, because it ended up being a perfectly lengthy video, and a very popular one at that. So, bottom line is, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I'm just out here surviving. That's all. So yeah, Sacrosanct did pretty well. Yossi was pleased with it. So if the fans like it, the author likes it, you can't complain. You can't complain. It's all good. Let me just see how many views that one has. 186,000 so far. How can you complain about that? Unless you're like Markiplier or something, then maybe that would be pretty disappointing. But for me, it's not disappointing. I also put out a video on liches in Dungeons and Dragons. And maybe it feels a little disingenuous that I'm putting out all these D&D videos. I have like an affiliate link on Amazon in the description to buy the D&D starter set. And yet I don't like D&D. Maybe that's a little disingenuous. It's not like I never liked D&D. I mean, we played Dungeons & Dragons 4th edition for years. We played the shit out of that game. But then 5th edition came out, and it's just like, I don't know, man. They're just better games. I mean, that's just how it is. And I still like D&D as like a universe. And I like a lot of the monsters in D&D, you know, and that's what I'm mainly talking about. But just as a box of mechanics and systems, other shit is better. Is the base game of Demon Lord good for running games that aren't specifically dark fantasy? Yes. Our most recent Demon Lord campaign was basically designed as a D&D campaign, like traditional D&D, and we just used Demon Lord. But there are some concessions you'll have to make, some changes if you really want to strip out all the grim, dark stuff. There's a few different schools of magic that are very like grim dark, like madness, death, curse. They're specifically like marked. They have like a little symbol that marks them as like, and there's special mechanics for them because they are specifically darker than all the other schools of magic. If you just eliminate those and say, yeah, we're not using those, that goes a long way towards making it just normal fantasy. And then some of the monsters and some of like the thematics and stuff, like elves in Demon Lord are like sort of traditional like Scandinavian, like darker, you know, elves and fairies that kidnap children and stuff. So you could just sort of wave your hand over that and say, no, we're doing D&D elves, you know, traditional elves. You can, I mean, it's just minor stuff like that, but the actual system itself is perfectly fine. We got back on to talking about D&D again. Yeah, but the Liches video did pretty well. It's at like 40... Shit. It's at like 40,000 views so far. I mean, obviously, D&D stuff's never going to be as popular as SCP. But it seems to be rising in popularity, so that's good. And then this week I worked on a video about SCP-2273, I think is the number. Yep, 2273, which is Major Alexei Belitrov. And it sort of starts, and you sort of expect it to be like this, this normal SCP about this bug soldier from another universe and his badass weaponry and his armored suit and stuff. it ends up being shockingly like emotional and sort of reflective. One of my more emotional SCP videos, I'd say. So far, Patreon feedback seems to be good. I think people like it. I was pretty happy with it, so it's all good. Next week, I'm working on another DJ Cactus SCP. His take on the End of Death canon. So that should be pleasant. It's got some exploration logs, of course. Those are always popular. I should really put, like, in the title, by DJ Cactus. That's probably like a draw for viewership at this point. And I'm glad that Cactus really likes my videos. That's always good to hear. I'm not like besmirching his name. He's not like upset that I'm making money off of his works and stuff like that. You know, author approval is good. And then next week I'm going on vacation. It's been a while. The family and I, we're going on a nice fishing trip. It's been a real long time since our family's gone on a fishing trip. And I pretty much was the one that made this happen. I pushed for it. I contributed a significant amount financially just so we could go on this fishing trip. But I really wanted one. You know, we haven't gone on a fishing trip, I think, in like 5 years or so, maybe 6 years. We used to go every single year throughout all of my childhood. And then my dad discovered that he just loved going to Colorado to go hiking in the Rocky Mountains. And since then, we just never went on a fishing trip. And I was like, no, this is unacceptable. We're doing it. So I made it happen. We're going next week for from Sunday through Thursday. It's not a super long vacation, but I'm excited. Should be a lot of fun. And so as part of that, of course, whenever I go on vacation, I release a reading video, so I don't have to do as much work. And, you know, reading videos get, like, as many views as normal videos. So it's really a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned. So the reading video I'll be doing this time is, hold on, what is it called? What is it called? Stars Do Not Wait for You is the name of the tale. It's not incredibly long, but I am going to supplement it a little bit by explaining it a little bit at the start. It's mostly about a single SCP. And I think explaining the nature of that SCP before the start of the tale would help a little bit. So it won't be super long, but, you know, hopefully it'll be over 10 minutes. That's the goal. That is the goal on YouTube. And I picked it, one, because it's a popular tale, but two, because it doesn't have any dialogue. And there aren't that many great tales on the SCP Wiki that don't have dialogue. And the reason I don't like dialogue is because I don't want to do character voices. And I do these when I just am ready to go on vacation, because I just crank them out really quick. So I don't want to have to, like, ask other people and collaborate and bring on like the Volgan to do a voice or something. You know, I just want to do it myself, get it out there, and be done with it. Which is perhaps lazy of me, but it's better than me just doing nothing for a week. So there aren't that many. That's why I started with Lord Blackwood. Those were like, none of those had dialogue. They were all just journal entries. And I really liked them, and they were perfect. But there were so few of them. There were so few of them. I did get another one. Somebody submitted to me a tale that they had wrote about Lord Blackwood that I have not read, but it's really sort of like Halloween, October themed. So I was sort of saving it for October. The other problem with that one is it's not on the wiki, which is a little bit of a bummer. It doesn't have to be. But yeah. So I don't know. Eventually I'm going to run out of good tales with no dialogue. So I either have to move over to trying dialogue, or I have to do other reading stuff. There's always more Lovecraft. There's plenty of his short stories that don't have any dialogue in them. So that's a possibility. I guess we'll see. For right now, though, I still have The Stars Do Not Wait for You. That's that. Over on this channel. Over on this channel, we had the end of Final Fantasy VII Remake, the start of Dragon Quest III, and the continuation of The Surge 2. The Surge 2 will, of course, finish this week, as predicted. Dragon Quest III will continue this week. We're at the point for Dragon Quest now where they are each, like, lengthy RPGs. Let me just see if I can tell you how long Dragon Quest III was. I'm sure I can tell you exactly how long it was. Three, but then well, the problem was, like, it took me like a year and a half to finish it. I started it and then I put it on pause for a long time. Here, I think this no, 4, 5. Damn, I really put it on pause. I put it on pause multiple times. Oh, maybe then. Oh, hit. Okay, I think it's 13 parts. Don't quote me on that, but I would guess it's around 13. And then Dragon Quest IV was... I think also 14, interestingly enough. Dragon Quest V was... also 14, unless I'm going crazy. That's really interesting if that's the case. And then Dragon Quest VI... I think Dragon Quest VI was like 20 parts. That's where it got started getting really long. And then Dragon Quest 7 so far, I feel like is going to be like 40 parts. I don't know. It's crazy. But yeah, starting with the first two games are super, super short. And then they decided to expand things. But it's been interesting so far. I know those aren't my most popular videos, but I like to make them, and that's really what we're here for. And of course, this Friday, we will start our Let's Play of The Last of Us Part 2. And even though I'm leaving on vacation on Sunday, I'm going to try and record multiple parts right away, get them rendered, get them scheduled, so we don't miss a day. I mean, yes, my job as a YouTuber means I can go on vacation whenever I want. But things have to be prepared. Things have to be done properly. Even as a Let's Player. Even though that's not my job whatsoever. It's so far from being a job. Anyways. Finally, let's talk about Mangg. And obviously, we did not have a session. We were in between campaigns this week. But tomorrow, presumably, hopefully, we will start a new fantasy campaign utilizing Dungeon World. It's been quite a while since we played with Dungeon World. For a long time, Ziggy was not a big fan of it. I don't know if he wasn't really a fan of the system or if he just wasn't a fan of the campaign that we ended up running. I think he placed an overemphasis on asking players for their input on situations, which is sort of a thing with Dungeon World you can do and you're kind of encouraged to do. But, I mean, you don't have to do that whatsoever. Or you could almost completely do that if that's what interests you in the table. It's completely up to you as a DM, really. And so it's like, asking for player input is like, the players are searching for an artifact. Okay. They need some sort of artifact to do something. So the DM, instead of coming up with it themselves, they ask the players, like, okay, where is the artifact held? And one player is just like, the Bog of Eternal Stench. And it's like, okay, that's where it is. Okay, now what is the artifact? And another player says, well, it's a golden yak. Okay, it's a golden yak in the Bog of Eternal Stench. And then the DM will take that info and create this situation off of that, and they'll include their own, little tweaks and stuff. But the players have now directly inputted into the world and helped create the world, which is very cool as players, and it creates some very interesting and spontaneous encounters and situations. But depending on the tone at the table, if the DM wants a non-wacky answer, but the player's like, I don't know, it's a giant dildo of magical energy, it's just like, dude, just say it's a fucking scepter. Or what's wrong with, you can get issues like that. And that sort of ruins it for anyone that isn't on the same tone. And so I think his issue was just sort of that campaign, and like Phil's input was just always sort of wacky. And I think he just didn't care for that. But it's like, okay, just don't ask. Do whatever you want. You can still like Dungeon World without doing that. So I think he's realized that, and we're gonna give it another go. We're specifically using a hack of Dungeon World, though, called Unlimited Dungeons. There's a few hacks of Dungeon World that try and fix and alter different things. One of the most popular is called World of Dungeons, that really strips the game down to its basic level. Does not have much like character progression or customization, but if you're just looking for like the most simple, easy to run version of Dungeon World, that would be it. The one that we're looking at is more of just like a general hack that tries to fix a lot of complaints and problems that people had with Dungeon World. It seems pretty solid. The only problem is these sort of hacks completely change like the structure of characters, so you can't really use any homebrew that was created for Dungeon World without also significantly changing it, which is a bummer because I like a lot of the homebrew that's been made for Dungeon World. There's some really cool characters, but I feel just sort of encouraged to just use the stuff that's in Unlimited Dungeons. And the problem is the magic system in Unlimited Dungeons doesn't super excite me. Sort of like basic Dungeon World, I guess. It doesn't super excite me. But there was some custom classes, homebrew stuff for Dungeon World, where like the Mage, which was just a redone version of the Wizard. And the Mage basically did not have any spell list or anything like that. They could do any effect that they wanted with magic that they could come up with, as long as it didn't directly harm someone. And it was like, holy shit. That is amazing. I mean, that just sets my mind ablaze with possibilities. I love that. Whereas Unlimited Dungeon, the Wizard sort of has different spell schools that they can go to. And there is some flexibility in coming up with stuff, but it's also somewhat restricted, and it's just like, okay. So I was thinking of maybe just playing like there's a noble class who's like a nobleman, and he gets stuff for like leading people and fencing, like duels and stuff. And he gets a lot of money, so he's good with money. And I was like, okay, maybe I could just play Frederick Zoller as like a nobleman. No changeling, no vampire. It's super boring, but I guess maybe I could do that, because I have been wanting to play Frederick again. But what I decided to go with is the Villager. And it's funny because it's like, if you give somebody this document and they're like, oh, okay, just pick any class. You can pick any class. There's no wrong answer. You pick any class. And then I picked the Villager, and it's like, okay, you found the wrong answer. The Villager is basically like a level 0 character. It's there so that if the DM wants to run it that way, everyone starts as a Villager, and you do like a funnel or something, and then at the end of the little funnel adventure, you sort of decide what class to become. So it has no special abilities whatsoever. It has no special moves or anything like that, and it is just completely almost completely blank vanilla character, just for super starting players. And that's what I'm gonna play. And it's certainly possible at some point that I'll advance him into a proper class, but yeah, for now I'm just gonna be a Villager. And okay. I mean, I'm doing it as like a personal challenge. It is a challenge to operate alongside other proper classes as a nothing, as a commoner, as a peasant. Because I like the challenge. But it's funny because I complain about like D&D 5th edition that it doesn't offer enough customization, and it doesn't offer enough interesting choices for your character. to differentiate yourself. And, you know, nobody really feels that special in D&D 5th edition from what I've played. And then I turn around to Dungeon World and I play a villager. The difference is that Dungeon World inherently, as a system, allows for far more creativity in play compared to Dungeons and Dragons, especially in combat. Because in Dungeon World, creativity and ingenuity is required in combat. You can't just sit there and say, I cast Eldritch Blast, and you do that every single turn for the entire combat. You can't do that in Dungeon World. The DM is going to mix things up and going to offer, you know, he's going to put challenges narratively in front of you, and you have to be able to creatively react to them. And so that inherent difference in the system means that playing a commoner isn't necessarily boring, it's just challenging. And I like that. How complicated is Demon Lord compared to 5e and 4e? I would say it's definitely simpler than 4e. I really wouldn't say it's definitely not more complicated than 5e. Yeah, I guess for starting out, like level 1, maybe it's as complicated as 5e. Maybe a little less. I guess it sort of depends. A lot of the stuff is streamlined, so like the DC of 10 for everything is super simple to know and learn. The Bane boon system is basically like advantage, disadvantage. And you don't really have to look at like expert paths, master paths, or anything like that at the start. You basically just pick your species, and then you pick warrior, priest, rogue, or wizard. That's it. But the problem is, I guess, if you pick priest or wizard, you do have to pick spells. So that's slightly more complicated. But again, yeah, I mean, it's pretty comparable, I guess, to 5e. It's really not that complicated of a system. So anyways, that's what's going to happen. I don't know exactly how this campaign's going to go, how we're going to start, or anything like that. But I have Ziggy's approval of playing a villager. His name is John Smith. Because I've played a villager before. It was like a D&D one-shot online with some stranger. And I ended up playing like a commoner in D&D. He had 10 in every stat. He had no special abilities. And I completely derailed that one shot. I decided to name him John Smith because that's literally the most boring vanilla name that I could possibly think of. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. I mean, Dungeon World's a lot of fun. I really like it. So I'm hoping it's a good campaign. There's a good chance that John Smith will die, and I'll just make a normal class. But hey, you never know. Maybe he will prove himself. I'll rise to the challenge, and eventually he'll become like a paladin or something and save the world. You never know. But yeah. Alrighty. I guess that's about it. So, more Dragon Quest 3, more Surge 2, with the end of Surge 2, and the start of Last of Us Part 2 on Friday. Very exciting. Check out SCP-2273 tomorrow on the Exploring series, and that'll be that. I think next Hanging with Mangg will probably be on Saturday instead of Sunday, because I'm leaving on Sunday morning. So Saturday night at some point I'll stream it. But alrighty, my name is Mangg. This has been Hanging with Mangg. See you fine folks next week.